Osu is one of the most popular rhythm games of all time, where you click circles to the beat. The game has recently turned 16 years old, so how has such a simple game kept its relevance and more importantly not died in the process? To find out, we need to go back to the beginning, the start of Stable to be exact. Osu was created by Dean Pippi Herbert on the 16th of September 2007. The game was inspired by the original Ostatakai Wendan that was only playable on the Nintendo DS. This game would use the stylus functionality of the DS, and when Pippi saw this, he knew that it would only be justice to make a PC version of the game, so that's what he did, and the execution was really well done. Not only was this version and the future versions of the game playable with mouse, it was also playable with a ton of other input devices, most famously the tablet. But there were other not so conventional types of inputs, but that's besides the point. The simplicity of just having circles, sliders, and spinners was what made the game so loved in the beginning. The game would only start to garner more of the community's attention as Pippi started adding more features, such as separating the good maps from the shit maps. By this, I mean the addition of ranked maps, and therefore the initial ranking system. This was initially a way to compete with others on the global leaderboard. To do this, the system would take into account all of your scores on ranked beat maps and add them together to determine your place. Not only was this a great way to build friendly competition for the community, but new features would continue to be added, like the addition of mods. This was a huge step in the right direction. Mods are a way to increase or decrease difficulty on a beat map. Each mod has a special score multiplier that really helped people gain ranks and score more easily. This feature has single-handedly carried the game, as it helped with the replayability of beat maps, and moreover increasing the ever so high skill ceiling. But how was the community sticking together like glue? It's clearly not the ranking system, but really the community's initiative. Of course, I'm talking about the mappers. Without mappers, there would be no game. This game is continuously led by the community to create a platform full of rich beat maps for players to consume. Without people like Miss Magius or Blue Dragon, who mapped the iconic Who's Afraid of the Big Black, which was classified as one of the hardest maps ever, the reputation given to the game by these maps showcases a sort of charm to the game, something that gives new players or outsiders that have never played the game a reason to try it. These mappers are extremely crucial to the success of the game. Now we have established the early part of Osu as a game, and how it's built up a brilliant foundation. But how has it kept up to present date? I mean, it has been 16 years. Well, we contribute it to a variety of factors, like the evolution of the ranking system. As I briefly mentioned before, the ranking system was based on score. Now, it's based off of something called PP. PP stands for performance points. As quote-unquote exploits that abuse the PP system were found, Pippi and his team have been committed to regulating the system, reworking it, and implementing much-needed changes in order to keep players happy and balance the game in the process. This was just a brief summary of the ranking system, but if you would like to learn more, click on this video. Okay, let's continue. Not only were mappers and the development of a really solid ranking system a perfect way to set up a successful game, but it's really the people that break boundaries, destroy metas, and keep consistent. The players are crucial. Here, give me a second. If I mention these 5 players, I bet you'll recognize one player, or have heard of them even if you've never played Osu before. Raruchi, Cookiesy, Rafis, White Cat, Emric. While all of these players are completely separated by generations, it's safe to say that these players popularized the game a lot, upholding a positive image as the best of the best, the tippity top of the skill ceiling. Many newer players aspire to get on their level. Having this in mind, many people decided to get into Osu and play. This is a great thing. If you've got people in the community showing that this game is crazy cool, it's bound to get widespread attention, which leads to more competition and more entertainment. Overall, having notable players is a huge bonus for the Osu game and community. These reputations have also been a core factor of the game's ability to uphold for a crazy 16-year period of time. Now, anime. Anime culture is prevalent throughout the Osu game and community. Whether you see this as a good or bad thing, one thing is for certain, and that is weeb stuff is a pillar of Osu. I mean, this game definitely appeals to a certain kind of people, but nonetheless, this kind of gives a weird reputation, not because of anime. Anime is chill, even though I don't watch any, but rather the problem lies with the weirdos in the community. I won't be talking about the negative drama or anything like that, since generally I would say 99% of the player base and community are chill as fuck, and the positives easily outweigh the negatives. It's just when there is a negative spotlight that Osu really gets the short end of the stick, getting called some dog shit when really it's a great game with a positive and continuously thriving community.
Anyone here that uses Osu, you get a ban straight away. That shit's worse than Genshin Impact.
Then there are the memes. Memes like 727 when you see it.
When you see it! When you fucking see it! 727! 727!
To the ROAS it's okay, shows that the community has terrible humor. Nah, I'm just playing. But it does show that these memes or jokes keep the community together as the time goes on. Memes are created by the community every day. These tight-knit and inside jokes really do build up the community together. This is another pillar that keeps the game afloat, even for people that are new to the game. You'll understand as you start to play the game and venture out into the positive community. Now, what are some other factors behind the game's success? Well, firstly, the game is free to play and can be played on basically every platform. The free to play nature makes it easily accessible and appealing for others to give it a try. Not only is being a free to play game with infinite content a massive incentive to play, but the main developer Pippi, while really blunt with his opinions, he is super humble and has mentioned multiple times that Osu will stay free to play. There are no ads or any bullshit, just the game, and that's what makes this unique. Here's Pippi's perspective on other game systems and how the monetization in those games are scummy.
I look at what other games are doing, and most of the times I get pissed off seeing what they're doing, pissed off seeing the way the industry is going these days, so a big part of it is just keeping us true to what it was.
Also, Pippi is probably one of the most, how do I put it, the most open to people's ideas or communication. He responds to most of his emails, he reads most complaints on Twitter and even tries to help people solve problems that they are facing with either the game or their account. He is just there, and that shows that he truly cares about his game and the community. That kind of base support from a passionate lead developer is a massive factor in what keeps this game afloat. If this isn't a developer who really cares about the game and the community behind it, I don't know who is. Let's talk more about the community, and more specifically, the content creators. I like to think that most content creators are really good at getting Osu into the mainstream spotlight. The people I have to commend for introducing the newer generations of players to Osu has to be the short creators. Now, while their content might not be the best, we can't avoid the fact that they are truly getting the game across to the biggest audience possible. This is a positive thing, and is only helping the game grow. However, not only are short-form creators pitching the game out, but so are long-form creators. People like Browmaster L were pioneers in the documentary space. He really paved the way for others. We have Stu for the latest Osu news and updates for the community. We have quote-unquote Osu historians like Osu Museum that document past events and present them in a manner so that newer players can look back on them and see how much the game has evolved. There is Cpol to show the latest score posts, and there's just much more. This game has amazing potential for content, and it's full of brilliant ideas. It seems more people are spreading the word of Osu, which is a great thing. Oh, and how can we forget BTMC, the face of Osu, as some people might suggest? Honestly, kind of true, but this is debatable. I'm not saying he fell off, but as he tends to indulge in other games, and the fact that he streams way more than he posts on YouTube, he is more an entrepreneur in the Osu scene. He saw a gap in the market, fulfilled it, and made it to where he is now, all in the process of giving publicity back to Osu. Speaking of publicity, have you ever wondered why a very competitive game such as Osu is not an esport? I mean, we have had LAN tournaments like the Roundtable, other in-person events like COE, and even the biggest tournament of every single year, which is OWC. There is no doubt that the tournament scene is rapidly growing, but why are there no sponsors or orgs trying to get into this space? Well, we briefly talked about the humbleness before, and I feel like Pippi would not want ads or rather sponsors and an org-focused community. Now, you may be thinking that this is shit reasoning, and you're not far off. But the copyright system and the usage of songs is 1000% a factor that is keeping Osu from becoming a mainstream esports game. There is a huge struggle to monetize because of copyrighted content, which is kind of bullshit, but that's just the world we live in. Let's look at the future of Osu. As most of you guys know, Osu Laser is a completely separate client, which will be the face of Osu in the future. It's still in quote-unquote development, but you're still able to experience completely new mods, features, and other improvements that will never be on the stable client. It's basically a huge upgrade. So why aren't people trying it out and swapping now? Well, they haven't implemented the PP system in the game, or compatibility with global leaderboards. It's such a competitive game that the majority of people would rather play on stable, with less fun and less features, than play on a more fun and more promising client. Is this an issue? Not really, since as soon as the PP system is implemented and the global leaderboards are linked up, I bet you the majority will flock to Osu Laser. The future of Osu is looking really bright. We get regular updates on the laser client on YouTube, and it's community-based development, meaning if you know how to code or have ideas to improve the new laser client, you can present your ideas forward to Pippi. As we discussed before, he listens to the community's opinions and thoughts. Really great guy. This video was kind of a curveball, as I made it seem negative, but in the end, I made it positive. Not everything has to be filled with negativity, and I think that's for the better. So, I hope you enjoyed all the best parts of this game, and it's safe to say Osu will never die. The game itself is so simple, yet has so much replayability to the point where it's one of the best rhythm games in the world.